You ever watch somebody let go of something precious like they didn't know what they were holding? Yeah, that's what we're talking about. See, people who avoid, people who run, they don't always run fast. Sometimes they just drift. They slip away in silence like smoke from a candle, and you're left wondering if they were ever really there at all. But here's the thing. They don't miss you right away. No, they don't feel the echo of your absence when you walk out that door. Not yet. It comes later. Quiet at first. A whisper, a memory, a half smile that hits them when they hear your favorite song in some gas station at midnight. It's when the silence they chose starts to scream. It's when the freedom they thought they wanted feels a whole lot like loneliness. Because you were the safe place, the real deal, the warm hand in a cold world, and they turned their back on it. They thought you'd always be there, like the porch light left on at night, until one day they come home and it's off. Doors locked, house is quiet. That's when it hits them. Not in a storm, no. In stillness, the kind of stillness that rattles your soul. And here's what happens when they realize they lost you. They start remembering every little thing, the way you laughed at their stupid jokes, the way you stayed even when they pushed, the way you saw them even when they couldn't see themselves. And they'll reach for their phone, maybe type your name, maybe even get to the part where they spell out hey, but they won't send it. Because deep down they know. They know they waited too long. They know love is a door you have to walk through while it's open, and they let it shut. You see, love, it's not a lighthouse you circle back to whenever you're ready. It's a fire. And if you don't tend it, it goes out. And when it's gone, it's gone. So let me tell you something. If you're the one who walked away, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally realized you deserve to be chosen, every damn day, stand tall. Because that ache they're feeling now, it's not your responsibility to fix. It's the cost of their distance. It's the bill for their silence. It's the price of realizing too late that you were the one, so let them feel it. And you keep walking. Because love that doesn't show up when it matters most, love is a door you have to walk through while it's open. That's not just poetry, it's truth wrapped in timing. See, love doesn't wait on your schedule. It doesn't linger politely in the hallway while you figure yourself out. Love shows up when it's ready, not when you're ready. And that's the part most people miss. There's this quiet assumption a lot of people make, especially the ones who are avoidant. They think they've got time. They think love is something they can pause and play like a record. That they can walk away when it gets too real, too vulnerable, too close, and come back later when the coast is clear, when the feelings feel safer. Isn't the kind that gets to come back. But that's not how it works. Love is not a waiting room. It doesn't hold your place in line while you disappear into your distractions. It doesn't put up with your emotional foot dragging forever. It's a living thing, breathing, burning, needing air, needing presence. And when it knocks, you've got a choice. You open that door or you don't. The avoidant types, the ones who run when it gets intimate, the ones who keep their hearts in lockdown, they often think they're protecting themselves. But in reality, they're building a wall so high, even they can't climb back over it when they finally realize they want to. They think they can just circle back around. But by then, the door's not just closed, it's been boarded up, painted over, and turned into something else entirely. There's a kind of arrogance in thinking love will wait forever. That the person who loved you deeply, patiently, vulnerably will just stay planted like a statue while you wrestle with your fears. But people don't wait like that. Not when they've learned how to value themselves, not when they realize they deserve to be met with the same energy they give. Because while you're hesitating, they're healing. While you're pulling back, they're learning how to stand taller. And by the time you realize that love was real, that it wasn't just a phase or a passing moment, they're already out of reach. And not out of bitterness, not out of revenge, just because the door closed. The hardest part about missing someone who gave you their whole heart is realizing you never really opened yours in return. And by the time you're ready to try, They're no longer handing it to you. They've taken it back. They've walked on. And the timing, that thing you thought you could control, has slipped through your fingers. That's the cruelty of delay, the tragedy of not choosing someone when they were choosing you. You don't get unlimited chances. People have breaking points. Even the kindest ones, especially the kindest ones. They forgive, they give space, they wait longer than they should, but eventually they get tired of knocking on a door that never opens back, and you'll remember them. Not because they made a scene, not because they begged, but because they loved you in a way that was rare, because they saw the parts of you that you tried to hide, and they didn't run. Not at first. They stayed, even when it was hard. They stayed until staying started to break them. And then they walked. And suddenly, all the time you thought you had becomes a thing you never get back. All those quiet moments you brushed off, all those texts you left unanswered, all those chances to show up and say, I'm here, gone. And the door you thought would always be open is now just a memory of what could have been. Because love isn't just about feeling something. It's about choosing something. It's about saying, yes, I'm scared, but I'm still going in. It's about knowing the risks, knowing you might get hurt, and stepping through anyway. That's what makes it real. That's what makes it worth it. And when someone gives you that chance, when they open that door and say, this is me, all of me, come in if you're ready, you better believe that's sacred. That's not a given. That's not a forever offer. That's a now or never moment, even if it doesn't feel like one at the time. Because one day you'll come back. You'll feel the ache of what you lost. You'll walk up to that door expecting it to creak open like before, expecting the light to still be on, but it won't be. And it won't be because you waited too long, because you thought you had time. Love was the door, and you didn't walk through. The silence they chose becomes the loneliness they never expected. It starts off subtle, quiet even, just like they wanted. No arguments, no dramatic goodbyes, no tears on the doorstep. They pull away, not with a slam, but with a soft click, like a door gently closing behind them. At first, they feel relief, space, control. The room breathes a little easier when they're alone, or so they tell themselves. No one asking for more, no one getting too close, no pressure to explain the weight they've been carrying or the walls they've built around their heart. For a while, silence feels like peace. That's the trick. That's how it fools them. See, when someone avoids connection, when they push people away the moment it starts to get real, they convince themselves that solitude is strength, that if they just stay quiet, just keep to themselves, they won't get hurt. They won't be left. They won't have to face the vulnerability of being fully seen. They choose the silence thinking it'll keep them safe. And maybe it does for a while. But silence has a way of changing shape. What was once peace becomes emptiness. What was once space becomes a void. They start to notice things, not all at once, but in waves. The empty side of the bed, the absence of a text in the morning, no one asking if they made it home safe, no laughter in the next room, no eyes looking back at them like they matter, no hand reaching across the distance. And the quiet, it gets loud. It starts to echo with all the words they never said, all the chances they let pass by, all the times someone tried to love them and they turned their back. They remember how you stayed, how you gave, how you waited. They remember how you asked questions they didn't know how to answer, how you offered a closeness they weren't ready to accept. And they remember how, instead of leaning in, they leaned out. Because that's what they do. They avoid, they detach, they convince themselves they're better off alone, but alone eventually becomes lonely. And that's a whole different beast. Loneliness doesn't hit like heartbreak. It doesn't scream. It creeps. It whispers late at night when they're lying in the dark and there's no one left to distract them. It comes in the pauses, those long, hollow moments between one thought and the next. It shows up in the things they used to share with you, the songs you introduced them to, the shows you watched together, The way your laugh filled up the room. They thought silence would be their shield. That if they kept things shallow, if they stayed quiet long enough, they could avoid pain. But what they avoided wasn't pain, it was connection. And now are left with the cost of that decision. You see, they didn't expect the silence to become their prison. They thought it was a form of freedom. But what's freedom worth when there's no one to share it with? When no one knows you, when no one asks how your day went or what's really on your mind? They start to feel the weight of that choice. Not right away, not when you first walk away, not when you finally stop reaching out, but later, much later, when your absence becomes a presence of its own. When they realize the silence they chose is permanent. That it's not a pause, it's not a reset, it's an ending. And there's no one to blame but themselves. Because deep down, they knew you were there, you were all in. You showed up on the hard days. You stayed when they gave you every reason to leave. You didn't just offer love, you offered understanding. You saw past the masks and made space for the mess beneath. And that scared them. It made them retreat. Because being seen felt dangerous, but being unseen now feels worse. That's the thing about avoidant hearts. They think distance will protect them, but it ends up isolating them. They don't realize the damage they've done until it's too late to undo it. Until the silence isn't a choice anymore, it's a consequence. It becomes their reality. Not a strategy, not a tactic, just a mirror of what they pushed away. They find themselves reaching for something they no longer have access to. Checking your social media, replaying old voicemails, revisiting conversations in their head, trying to figure out when the shift happened, when they lost you. And the truth is, they didn't lose you all at once. They lost you moment by moment. Each time they shut down, each time they stayed silent, each time they chose space over honesty. And now they sit in the very quiet they once craved. And it doesn't feel like peace anymore. It feels like grief, but not the kind with closure, the kind that lingers. The kind that doesn't have a name because they can't admit what they did. Because saying it out loud would mean acknowledging that they could have had love and they let it slip through their fingers. The silence they chose becomes the loneliness they never expected.